The winter sun hung low over Seoul, painting the Han River in streaks of gold. Students hurried across campus, bundled in coats, their chatter clouding into mist. Inside Hongdae University's design studio, Tolani bent over a sketch pad, pencil darting furiously as if her life depended on the lines. Her sister Doyin, brilliant and precise, would have scolded her for smudging the margins. But today, Doyin wasn't there to scold her. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and silence. Hours earlier, a reckless driver had struck Doyin on her way to finance class. The twins, inseparable since Lego's childhood, now stood separated by a thin sheet of glass, one breathing through machines, the other drowning in guilt. Tolani pressed her forehead against the cool pain. "You can't leave me, Doyin. Not when your whole future is right here." Her words trembled, almost a prayer. The timing was cruel. Just last week, Doyin had received news of a global finance exchange scholarship, a golden ticket to represent Hongdae University abroad. Their father back in Abuja had cried with pride over the phone. Now, with Doyin unconscious, that dream dangled in jeopardy. Tolani returned to the design studio restless. Her sketchbook lay open, but her mind spun. That was when she saw the unopened email in her sister's inbox. A reminder, final confirmation for exchange candidates, attendance mandatory in all finance modules. Her throat tightened. Attendance, exams, applications. If Doyin missed them, the scholarship would vanish. A wild thought took root. What if I went in her place? The mirror on the studio wall reflected her own face. Same almond eyes, same high cheekbones, the very twin of the girl lying in a hospital bed. She wasn't Doyin, but she could pretend. After all, hadn't they fooled their parents countless times as children? Hadn't teachers struggled to tell them apart? Her conscience wrestled with her desperation. Pretending to be Doyin would be dishonest, reckless, maybe even dangerous. But letting her sister's dream vanish felt worse. Tolani clenched her fists. "I'll keep it alive for you, Doyin. Just until you wake." That evening, she slipped into one of Doyin's tailored blazers. The transformation was uncanny. She walked through the finance faculty doors, heart pounding, repeating her sister's name in her head like a shield. Doyin. 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 The scholarship application was due at the student council office. She filled the form, forged her sister's neat strokes, and delivered it just before the deadline. But fate never lets secrets lie still. Welcome to Munlyt Stories, where Munlyt meets myth. Asterisk. Love timeless tales? Then hit like, subscribe, and join the circle. Every story begins with you. The council president himself appeared, Kang Min-jun, tall, confident, Seoul's golden boy, heir to the Kang Group empire. His reputation on campus was untouchable, brilliant in finance, champion fencer, darling of the media. He eyed her with suspicion as she stepped into the council studio, the form clutched to her chest. Tolani bowed stiffly, praying her disguise held. Min-jun's gaze lingered, sharp as a blade. In that moment, Tolani knew her twin scholarship might be saved, but her own life was about to spiral into something far more complicated. The morning air on campus buzzed with energy. Posters announcing a live finance lecture by Kang Min-jun fluttered against bulletin boards, drawing crowds of eager students. To most, Min-jun wasn't just the top finance scholar, he was campus royalty. Girls swooned over his fencing victories, boys envied his easy charisma, and professors praised his flawless records. Tolani, however, only felt nerves. She had woken at dawn, slipping into Doyin's crisp blazer again, tying her hair into the same neat bun her sister always wore. The mirror had smiled back at her like a stranger. Every step she took on campus carried the weight of a lie. She clutched the scholarship documents tighter as she entered the broadcast hall. All she had to do was hand them to the student council president, Min-jun himself, and vanish quietly. Simple. But nothing that day proved simple. Backstage, chaos reigned. Technicians fiddled with lights, interns rushed with clipboards, and Min-jun himself appeared, late but composed. He had no dressing room, so he disappeared behind a folding panel to change into his lecture suit. Tolani turned the corner at the wrong moment. Her eyes widened in horror as she caught a glimpse of him shrugging off his shirt. Heat flushed her face. Pervert!" she blurted out before she could stop herself. Min-jun froze, equally startled, before pulling his jacket on with practiced calm. His brows arched, amused despite the situation. "Pervert, you barged in on me." But Tolani was already scurrying away, mortified, convinced she'd stumbled upon an exhibitionist. Moments later, fate struck again. She was dragged on stage as a volunteer for Min-jun's lecture demonstration. Tolani's heart thudded in her chest as hundreds of eyes turned to her. She stood stiffly, reminding herself to act like Doyin, poised, professional. Then Min-jun's sharp gaze zeroed in on her. His eyes flickered to her blouse. One button hung loose, gaping just enough to draw unwanted attention. He tried to signal discreetly, tugging at his own collar. But Tolani, already suspicious, misread the gesture. She saw him staring at her chest, smirking, and her blood boiled. Smack! The slap rang across the auditorium like a gunshot. Gasps erupted. Cameras whirred, whispers hissed. Seoul's golden boy had just been struck across the face live. For a second, the world froze. Then Min-jun straightened, expression unreadable. With effortless composure, he turned back to the audience. "Thank you for the demonstration," he said smoothly, continuing his lecture as though nothing had happened. The crowd cheered, impressed by his calm under pressure, though his fans' eyes blazed with fury. Tolani fled the stage, cheeks burning. She hadn't just embarrassed him, she had painted a target on her back. By evening, whispers rippled across campus forums. Who was the girl who slapped Kang Min-jun? Photos circulated, names speculated. That night, Tolani returned to her tiny dorm, sinking into the mattress with a groan. She had only wanted to save her sister's scholarship. Instead, she had declared war on the most powerful student in Seoul. And Kang Min-jun, though outwardly composed, sat in his penthouse suite, fingers brushing the faint mark on his cheek, a spark of intrigue in his eyes. Who was this girl who dared to slap him? Tolani thought the storm had passed. If she kept her head down, maybe the whole slap incident would fade into the chatter of Seoul's gossip-hungry campus. But by afternoon, her worst fears came true. She logged into the university forum and nearly choked. Her blurry photo was everywhere under bold captions. Who dared to hit Kang Min-jun? And the girl with no fear. Comments ranged from admiration to pure venom. Some called her brave. Others demanded she be expelled. Tolani groaned. This is a nightmare. To escape the buzzing dorm, she put on her helmet, mounted her delivery bike, and went to work. The part-time job was her lifeline, helping cover hospital bills for Doyin. That evening, fate decided to mock her again. The delivery address glowed on her screen. Kang Residences, Apgujeong. Her pulse skipped. No way! Of all people! Minutes later, she stood before the Kang family's luxury penthouse, clutching a small velvet box. When the door swung open, there he was, Kang Min-jun himself. His sharp eyes narrowed as recognition flared. You again! His tone dripped with disbelief. Tolani stiffened. Just sign for your delivery. She held out the box like a shield, but as she passed it, her foot slipped on the polished marble floor. The velvet case tumbled, hit the ground, and popped open. A delicate diamond bracelet rolled out, snapping in two. No! Tolani gasped, scrambling to pick it up. Min-jun's jaw clenched. He snatched the broken piece, face darkening. Do you know what this is? She stammered. I'll pay for it. In installments. Please. His laugh was cold. This was for my mother's birthday. And you think you can installment a Kang heirloom? Her chest tightened with guilt. I'm sorry. I didn't mean. Before she could finish, Min-jun's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and answered. Yama. His voice softened. From the other end came a cheerful woman's voice. Tolani could hear faintly, Min-jun, forget the gift. Just bring me a girlfriend. That would be the best present. His eyes flicked back to Tolani. She froze under his stare. A dangerous idea formed between them in that charged silence. Tolani swallowed. What if I pretend to be your girlfriend? Just for tonight. At her party. In exchange, you let me pay for the bracelet slowly. The room stilled. Min-jun studied her as if weighing the madness of the offer. Then, with a sly tilt of his lips, he said, You're reckless, but interesting. Her breath caught. Fine, he added. Be my girlfriend, for one night. But don't embarrass me again. Later, Under the neon lights of Myeongdong, they shopped together for an evening dress. Tolani had never stepped into such glittering boutiques. The mirrors made her feel like an imposter, a Lagos girl playing princess in Seoul. But when Min-jun adjusted the hem of her gown and murmured, "Not bad," something in her chest fluttered. This wasn't just a deal anymore. It was the beginning of something she wasn't ready to name. The Kang residence in Cheongdam-dong shimmered like a palace. Crystal chandeliers cast diamonds of light across marble floors, and guests in designer suits murmured greetings in Korean, English, and Mandarin. To Tolani, who had grown up dodging Lagos traffic and hustling through open-air markets, it felt like stepping into a dream, one where she didn't belong. Min-jun walked beside her, hand lightly resting at the small of her back. His tuxedo fit him like it had been born on his shoulders, every step radiating confidence. Beside him, Tolani clutched her clutch purse like a lifeline, praying no one could see through her borrowed poise. "This is madness," she whispered. "What if they find out I'm not? You're my girlfriend tonight," Min-jun cut in smoothly. "That's all anyone needs to know. Just smile, nod, and let me lead." The word girlfriend sent a strange flutter through her stomach. Inside the ballroom, the hum of admiration followed Min-jun. The Kang heir, Seoul's golden boy, had finally brought a date. Curious eyes shifted to Tolani, drinking in her Nigerian features, the confident line of her chin, the nervous glint in her eyes. She forced a smile, pretending she belonged. Then came the moment she dreaded. Min-jun's mother, elegant in a silk hanbok, approached with open arms. "Min-jun, you brought her." Her gaze landed on Tolani, and warmth blossomed. "Pretty and graceful. What's your name, dear?" "Tol," she caught herself. "Doyin. Doyin Okafor." The lie tasted bitter, but Mrs. Kang seemed delighted. "Welcome to our family, Doyin. Dance with my son. Let us see how well you match." The orchestra swelled. Min-jun offered his hand, his expression unreadable. "Shall we?" Tolani hesitated, then placed her palm in his. They glided onto the dance floor, the crowd parting like a tide. Min-jun's arm slid around her waist, pulling her close. She whispered harshly, "I don't know how to waltz." "Then follow me," he murmured, guiding her gently. "Step, glide, turn." His movements were precise, elegant. Slowly, her body mirrored his, clumsy at first, then smoother, until they were moving as one. The room blurred around them. Lights, whispers, jealous stares, all faded. There was only Min-jun's steady hand, his heartbeat close to hers, the dangerous rhythm pulling her deeper than she intended. Their eyes met. For one breathless second, it wasn't a performance. It wasn't a contract. It was something real. But reality snapped back when a sharp voice cut through. "Unbelievable!" Park Sujene, draped in a glittering gown, stepped forward, her smile brittle. She was Seoul's socialite darling, and everyone knew she adored Min-jun. First you slap him on live broadcast, now you appear here pretending to be his girlfriend? Do you think the Kang family will accept this outsider? Gasps rippled. Tolani's cheeks burned. She opened her mouth, but Min-jun's voice rang out, cold and commanding. "Sujene, that's enough." His arm tightened protectively around Tolani. "She's with me. That's all that matters." The crowd fell silent. Sujene's smile cracked. And in that charged silence, Tolani realized two things. She had just made her first enemy among Seoul's elites, and her fake boyfriend had just defended her like she was real. The night after the Kang family party, Tolani sat cross-legged on her dorm bed, replaying every moment in her head, the chandelier glow, the orchestra swell, the warmth of Min-jun's hand on her waist. She pressed her palms to her cheeks. "It was only a deal, Tolani. Don't get carried away." Her new roommate, Kim Bora, barged in just then, dropping her bag with a dramatic sigh. The girls' walls were plastered with glossy posters of Min-jun fencing, speaking at conferences, even stepping out of luxury cars. A collection of Kang-branded fan merchandise sat proudly on the shelf. "Yeah," Bora said, squinting at Tolani. "You look familiar. Wait, aren't you the girl who slapped Min-jun's sunbae during the live broadcast?" Tolani froze. I was staged. Part of the program." She forced a casual laugh. Bora's suspicious eyes narrowed. "Staged or not, you're bold. Do you know how many girls would kill for a second of his attention?" Tolani kept her smile tight. Inside, her stomach churned. If Bora ever finds out I'm his so-called girlfriend, I'm dead. The next morning, Tolani buttoned Doyin's blazer again and marched into the finance lecture hall. The air buzzed with anticipation. Students knew Min-jun had returned from the party, and rumors swirled about his mystery date. The professor clapped for attention. Pair up for the semester project. A flurry of movement followed. Students rushed toward Min-jun, eager to be chosen. He leaned back, surveying the crowd with calm detachment. Then, to everyone's shock, his eyes locked on Tolani. "I'll work with her," he said. A ripple of disbelief swept the room. Bora, sitting nearby, gasped audibly. Girls whispered angrily, some shooting Tolani daggers with their eyes. Tolani's pulse hammered. She stood slowly, murmuring, "Why me?" Min-jun leaned close, voice low enough for her ears only. "Because you're interesting, and because I want to see how long you can keep up this act." Her breath caught. Does he know? At lunch, she escaped to the quieter courtyard, hoping to vanish into the background. That was when Jide Afolayan, her sister's Nigerian classmate, appeared with a friendly wave. "Doyin. Long time." He handed her a neatly wrapped package. "A little gift. I thought you could use it for your studies." Tolani blinked, heart twisting. "He thinks I'm Doyin." Jide's kind eyes studied her closely. "You've been acting different lately. More distracted. Is everything okay?" She forced a smile, hiding the truth. "Just a lot on my mind." Jide nodded but didn't look convinced. By evening, Tolani tried to shake off the guilt by volunteering at the university library. The scent of old paper comforted her. She stacked books high, enjoying the quiet, until Min-jun appeared, clipboard in hand. "Student council inspection," he said smoothly. "And you." He began nitpicking her shelf arrangement, voice irritatingly calm. She rolled her eyes. "You're impossible." He stepped closer, caging her against the shelf, his face inches from hers. "And you're hiding something." Her pulse spiked. Their breaths mingled. The tension grew unbearable until her phone rang. It was Aisha, calling about Doyin. With a panicked excuse, Tolani bolted, leaving Min-jun standing alone in the library shadows, curiosity burning hotter than ever. The library encounter haunted Tolani long after she fled. She could still feel the heat of Min-jun's presence, the way his eyes pierced as though he could read the secrets she worked so hard to bury. She told herself to avoid him, but fate had other plans. 2 days later, they collided again, literally. Tolani was rushing across campus, with a bag of delivery parcels slung over her shoulder when Min-jun stepped out of the student council office. She tried to swerve, but the strap caught on the doorframe and yanked her sideways. She stumbled into him, and in the scramble to steady herself, the sound of ripping fabric echoed. Min-jun glanced down. His expensive white shirt bore a jagged tear across the chest. "Oh my God!" Tolani gasped. "I'll fix it. I promise." He raised a brow. "You've cost me a bracelet, now a shirt. Should I send you my bills directly?" Her cheeks burned. "Just give me the shirt. I'll repair it." Later that night, she sat in the dorm, needle in hand, tongue poking out as she stitched carefully. Her mother back in Lagos had taught her how to sew when money was tight and clothes had to last. With each neat stitch, she patched not only fabric but also the guilt gnawing at her. Finally, she embroidered a tiny flower over the tear, bold, defiant hers. The next morning, she returned it to Min-jun. He slipped it on, inspected the flower, and smirked. "Not my usual style, but it suits me." Tolani blinked. "Really? Really?" In fact, his eyes gleamed mischievously. "Let's see if others think so." That afternoon, to her horror, Min-jun dragged her to a bustling street market in Hongdae. He stood there, Seoul's golden boy, in her patched shirt, attracting curious stares. "Are you crazy?" she hissed. But then he motioned for her to join him. He spun once, showing off the embroidered flower, and declared, "Exclusive design by Okafor Doyin. Available today." Before she could protest, students swarmed. "Can I buy one? How much?" Min-jun grinned at her. "You're a designer, aren't you? Sell them." And just like that, her childhood hustle returned. Tolani bargained prices, scribbled orders, and even stitched quick samples on the spot while Min-jun, to her shock, danced playfully to draw more customers. The crowd roared in delight. Hours later, flushed with success, Tolani counted the bills in her hand. For once, money didn't just mean survival, it meant possibility. She bought street food, tteokbokki and hotteok, and pushed it into Min-jun's hands. "For your hard work," she teased. He took a bite, then looked at her differently, softened, curious, almost tender. But just as her guard began to lower, he leaned in and whispered, "Dinner. With my mother. You still owe me." Tolani choked on her hotteok. "What? No way. You agreed to our deal. One night wasn't enough. Consider this part 2. And with that, Kang Min-jun walked away, leaving her staring after him, heart pounding. The word dinner echoed in Tolani's head all week. Every time she thought of it, her stomach flipped. Facing Min-jun was one thing. Facing his mother, the elegant matriarch of the Kang family, was another. She tried to back out twice, texting excuses, extra shifts, homework, even a fake fever. But Min-jun always replied the same way. "A deal is a deal. 7 p.m. sharp. Don't embarrass me." So that Friday, Tolani found herself in front of the Kang family home again, this time in a simple cream dress she had borrowed from the dorm's clothing pool. She clutched a bouquet she bought with her delivery tips, praying it didn't look too cheap. The butler led her into a dining room fit for royalty. Crystal chandeliers shimmered, the long mahogany table gleamed, and silverware sparkled under the lights. At the head of the table sat Mrs. Kang, graceful in a jade hanbok, her presence commanding yet warm. "Welcome, dear." She rose, pulling Tolani into a surprisingly affectionate embrace. "So you're the young woman my Min-jun has been hiding." Tolani's breath caught. Hiding? This was supposed to be pretend. Yet here was Mrs. Kang, eyes sparkling with delight, as if she already approved. "Yes, ma'am," Tolani murmured, bowing awkwardly. "Call me Yama." Across the table, Min-jun smirked at her discomfort. He poured her a glass of water, his hand brushing hers deliberately, as if daring her to break character. Dinner began with course after course, galbi, japchae, delicate banchan dishes Tolani couldn't even name. She tried to follow etiquette, but the chopsticks slipped more than once. Each time, Mrs. Kang chuckled kindly, offering tips. "Relax, dear. A woman who eats well brings joy to the table." Tolani's nerves eased. For the first time since she stepped into Seoul's elite world, someone wasn't criticizing her accent, her looks, or her background. Mrs. Kang asked about her studies, her family in Nigeria, her dreams. Tolani answered carefully, weaving Doyin's identity with fragments of her own truth. By dessert, Mrs. Kang clasped her hands together. "Min-jun, she's wonderful. You should keep her." Tolani nearly choked on her sweet rice cake. "Excuse me?" Mrs. Kang smiled knowingly. "I've waited years for you to bring someone home. Tonight I feel hopeful. Maybe an engagement soon." The room spun. Tolani's eyes darted to Min-jun, silently begging him to intervene. He only leaned back, lips curved in a mischievous half-smile, enjoying her panic. After dinner, Mrs. Kang excused herself with a satisfied nod, leaving the two of them alone in the grand hall. Tolani whirled on Min-jun. "Engagement? Are you insane? This was supposed to be one night." He crossed his arms, smug. "You're the one who offered the girlfriend act. I never said how long it had to last." Her jaw dropped. "You're blackmailing me with your mother's happiness?" He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "No. I'm curious. You're different from everyone else. And until I figure out why, you're staying right where you are." His words hung heavy in the air, as dangerous as they were thrilling. And for the first time, Tolani wondered if the real danger wasn't the lie she was living, but the feelings she was beginning to feel. By Monday, the entire university buzzed with rumors. "Did you hear? Min-jun brought a date to his mother's party. They danced together like royalty. She's foreign, Nigerian, I think. Bold of him, right?" Tolani heard the whispers wherever she went, cafeteria, courtyard, even the lecture halls. Each word pressed against her chest like a weight. She had tried to keep the deal private, but Mrs. Kang's joy had spread like wildfire through the elite social circles. At the dorm, Kim Bora was relentless. She cornered Tolani as soon as she entered. "Yeah, Doyin. You were at the Kang party, weren't you? People said you waltzed with him." Tolani fumbled with her bag. Rumors fly fast. Don't believe everything you hear. Bora folded her arms, glaring. Don't play innocent. Min-jun is Seoul's treasure. If you think you can climb into his world, you'll regret it. The word stung, but Tolani kept her face neutral. She couldn't afford to reveal anything. Later that day in finance class, the professor announced, project teams will begin this week. Prepare presentations together. Min-jun leaned casually in his chair. Partner, he said, nodding at Tolani. Dozens of envious eyes burned into her. One girl whispered loudly, of course he'd pick her. Foreign girls are always a phase. Tolani forced a calm smile, but inside her stomach knotted. At lunch, she escaped to the quieter garden behind the economics building. She was unwrapping her food when Jide Afolayan appeared, balancing a tray. Mind if I join? He asked warmly. Tolani nodded, grateful for his familiar presence. Jide had been Doyin's close friend since freshman year, and his kindness reminded her of home. But as they ate, Jide studied her carefully. You've changed, Doyin. The Doyin I know avoided attention. Now you're always with Min-jun. Tolani's chopsticks froze midair. We're just project partners, she said quickly. Jide didn't look convinced. He pulled a small box from his bag and slid it across the table. Inside lay a delicate keychain with the Nigerian flag embedded in glass. I was saving this for a special day, he admitted, voice low. I like you, Doyin. More than a friend. Tolani's breath hitched. Guilt washed over her. He thinks I'm Doyin. She closed the box gently, forcing a shaky smile. Jide, thank you. But I can't accept this. Not now. The hurt in his eyes cut deep, though he tried to hide it. That evening, she sought refuge in the library, signing up to volunteer. The quiet aisles calmed her until a familiar voice broke it. Working hard, girlfriend? Min-jun's teasing tone carried from the doorway. He approached with a clipboard, inspection written all over his face. Tolani rolled her eyes. Don't call me that here. He smirked, stepping closer still, until the shelves pressed at her back. Why not? You play the role perfectly at dinner. My mother is convinced. Her breath caught. His gaze lingered too long, too intense. Their faces were inches apart, and just as her knees threatened to give way, her phone rang. Aisha's name flashed on the screen. With trembling hands, Tolani answered, muttered a quick excuse and fled. Min-jun stood among the bookshelves, watching her retreat, a storm gathering behind his calm eyes. Tolani tried to convince herself the library moment meant nothing. It was just Min-jun being his usual smug, suffocating self. Still, her heart hadn't stopped racing since. The next day, she avoided him. She kept her head down, slipped out of lectures early, and even skipped lunch. For a while it worked, until her phone buzzed. From Kang Min-jun. Meet me. Urgent. Don't make me come find you. Her chest tightened. Reluctantly, she made her way to the student council office. Min-jun sat behind his desk, looking every bit the polished heir, pen poised over a folder. You've been dodging me, he said calmly. I've been busy. He pushed the folder across the desk. Sign this. Tolani frowned. Inside was a contract, printed neatly in Korean and English. Terms. Doyin Okafor agrees to continue the role of Min-jun's girlfriend at family events. In return, Min-jun agrees to cancel the debt of the broken bracelet. Both parties will maintain appearances until further notice. Her jaw dropped. You're insane. A contract. Thank you so much for staying with us till this very point in the story. If you're enjoying it, please don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear the lessons you learned from this story and your thoughts on how we can keep improving to bring you the very best. A contract? Tolani asked furiously. You wanted to pay in installments, he replied smoothly. This is easier. She pushed the paper back. I'm not selling myself to you. Min-jun leaned forward, eyes sharp. This isn't about selling. It's about survival. You need money for your sister's treatment, don't you? Tolani froze. How? I asked around, he said simply. You're working 3 jobs. Deliveries. Tutoring. Sewing commissions. You look exhausted every morning. I'm not blind. Shame and anger collided in her chest. He had peeled her open without permission, exposing the secret she guarded fiercely. Her fists clenched. "That's none of your business." Min-jun's expression softened, just slightly. "It became my business the moment you broke that bracelet. And the moment you walked into my life." Tolani's pulse skipped. His words unsettled her, blurring the line between threat and something else. With trembling hands, she signed. "Fine. But this doesn't make us real." His lips curved faintly. "We'll see." Later, at the dorm, Tolani collapsed onto her bed. Bora was scrolling through her phone, muttering, "Everyone's still talking about Min-jun's mystery girlfriend. Whoever she is, she's in trouble." Tolani pulled the blanket over her head. Trouble doesn't even begin to cover it. The following weekend, Min-jun texted her an address for lunch. She almost didn't go, but curiosity and the contract dragged her there. It was a sleek Gangnam cafe, full of glass walls and polished marble. When she arrived, Kang Ji-hoon, Min-jun's cousin, was already seated, grinning wide. "So this is her," Ji-hoon said, studying her. "The girl who made Min-jun break his perfect composure." "Interesting." Min-jun shot him a warning look, but Tolani could see the faint blush in his ears. And for the first time, she realized something terrifying. Kang Min-jun wasn't untouchable. She was touching him, slowly, dangerously, and he was letting her. The ink on the contract was barely dry when Mrs. Kang called her son. "Min-jun, ah," her voice chimed through the phone. "Bring your girlfriend again. I'd like to spend more time with her. She feels refreshing." Min-jun looked across the cafe table at Tolani. She was mid-bite of her pastry when she froze, eyes widening. He set the phone down, smiling like a cat with cream. "Yama wants to see you again." Tolani almost choked. "No, absolutely not. Once was enough." "You signed the contract," he reminded smoothly, sipping his coffee. "Clause 2, appearances until further notice." She glared at him. "You're evil." "And you're dramatic," he countered. "Relax. It's just lunch." On Sunday, Tolani found herself back at the Kang estate. This time, she wore a simple blouse she had sewn herself. No designer gown, no glittering heels, just her handiwork. It was all she could afford, and she prayed it didn't betray her cover. Mrs. Kang greeted her with warmth, ushering her into a sunlit garden filled with camellias. "Ah, Doyin, you look lovely. Sit, sit." As they dined on light dishes, Mrs. Kang peppered her with questions. "Do you cook?" Min-jun is hopeless in the kitchen. Tolani smiled nervously. "Yes, Yama. I can cook. What dish best represents you?" For a moment, Tolani hesitated. She was supposed to be Doyin, polished finance star. But the truth slipped out. "Jollof rice. It reminds me of home." Mrs. Kang's brows lifted, intrigued. "Ah, from Nigeria. Then you must make it for me someday." Tolani's heart warmed at the invitation. She had expected scrutiny, maybe even rejection. Instead, Mrs. Kang treated her like family. But across the table, Min-jun watched her carefully, as if measuring the weight of every word. Later, as they walked back to the car, Tolani whispered harshly, "This is getting out of hand. She's going to expect me around forever." "That's the idea," Min-jun replied. She stopped, glaring at him. "You're enjoying this too much. To you, I'm just entertainment." He paused, his expression shifting. For once, his voice lost its teasing edge. "You think I'd risk my mother's happiness for entertainment? You underestimate me." Before she could respond, a familiar voice interrupted. "Min-jun." They turned to see Park Sujene, radiant in designer heels, striding toward them. Her eyes darted to Tolani, narrowing instantly. "So it's true," she sneered. "The foreign girl from the slap is now playing Kang family princess." Tolani stiffened, but before she could defend herself, Min-jun stepped forward. His voice was ice. "Sujene, mind your tongue." Sujene's smile wavered. "You'll regret this." She swept away, leaving behind a trail of whispers. Tolani exhaled shakily. "She hates me." "Good," Min-jun said, opening the car door for her. "That means you've made an impression." Tolani climbed in, torn between dread and something far more dangerous, the thrill of belonging to his world, even if only in pretense. Seoul's crisp autumn air swept across the campus, scattering golden leaves over the stone courtyard. Tolani adjusted the blazer that still smelled faintly of hospital disinfectant. Every day she carried the weight of Doyin's name like armor, but lately the armor was cracking. Her double life was stretching too thin. She had finance projects with Min-jun, design assignments piling up, shifts at the delivery company, and nightly visits to the hospital. Sleep came in fragments. Her eyes burned, her hands shook, and still she pushed on. But not everyone was blind to her exhaustion. Doyin, a familiar voice called as she left the lecture hall. It was Escalating, holding a folder. He jogged up, concern etched into his features. "Are you okay? You've been different lately. Distracted. And your handwriting on the last assignment." He flipped open the folder, revealing scrawled notes. "This doesn't look like yours." Tolani's throat tightened. "I've just been tired, that's all." Jide frowned, searching her face. "You're hiding something, aren't you?" She forced a laugh, masking her panic. "Don't be ridiculous. You worry too much." But his eyes lingered, suspicious and pained, before he finally walked away. That evening, Min-jun summoned her to the student council office. The room smelled of polished wood and expensive cologne. He leaned against the desk, arms crossed. "You're slipping," he said flatly. Tolani bristled. "Excuse me. You almost fell asleep during our presentation rehearsal. Your cover will unravel if you keep this up. And when it does," he let the words hang like a blade. Tolani clenched her fists. "Why do you care? If my secret comes out, it's my problem." Min-jun's gaze sharpened. "Wrong. You're my contract girlfriend. If you fall, I fall with you. My mother will feel betrayed, my reputation will crack, and everything I've built gone." The words stung, not because of their truth, but because she realized just how entangled they had become. "Then maybe we should end the contract," she whispered. For a moment, his composure faltered. His jaw tightened, and something flickered in his eyes. Then, softly, he said, "You think you can walk away, but you can't. Not anymore." Tolani's heart pounded. She hated the way his voice made her chest ache with something dangerously close to longing. Outside the office, shadows stirred. Park Sujene lingered near the corridor corner, phone in hand. She had overheard enough to piece together something delicious. Min-jun's mysterious girlfriend was not untouchable after all. A smile curved her lips as she sent a quick message to her circle. "Meet me. We need to talk about her." Later that night, Tolani returned to the dorm, only to find Boris scrolling furiously through her phone. "You'd better explain," Boris snapped, shoving the screen in Tolani's face. It was a campus forum post. "Foreign girl caught sneaking into Kang Min-jun's car, proof she's manipulating him for money." A blurry photo accompanied it. Tolani climbing into Min-jun's black sedan. Her blood ran cold. The walls of her lie were closing in. And somewhere in the city, Sujene laughed, satisfied that her trap had been sprung. By morning, the campus buzzed with fresh scandal. The forum photo of Tolani slipping into Min-jun's car had gone viral, accompanied by captions dripping with malice. "Foreign girl gold digger. She slapped him, then seduced him. Proof Kang Min-jun has terrible taste." Tolani walked through the courtyard with her head bowed, her books clutched tight. Whispers followed her like shadows. Every step felt heavier, like she was dragging her secret across the stones. At the dorm, Bora smirked from her desk. "So it's true. You've been sneaking around with him." "I knew you were trouble." Tolani swallowed hard. "It's not what you think." Bora leaned closer, eyes gleaming. "Then prove it, or I'll make sure everyone knows exactly who you are." Her threat sent a chill down Tolani's spine. She couldn't let anyone discover she wasn't Doyin. That evening, Min-jun found her in the library, curled between shelves, trying to vanish into her notes. He slid into the seat beside her, his presence filling the silence. "Ignore the noise," he said simply. Her laugh was brittle. "Easy for you to say. You're the golden boy. They'll forgive you anything. Me? I'll always be the outsider." His expression softened. "You're stronger than you think. You faced my mother, my enemies, even me, and you're still standing." For a heartbeat, his words steadied her. But then the library door swung open. A group of girls entered, Sujene leading them like a queen with her court. Well, Sujene drawled, her eyes locking on Tolani. "If it isn't Seoul's newest scandal." Min-jun straightened, his tone sharp. Sujene, leave her alone. But Sujene only smiled sweetly. Why should I? She's hiding something, and when the truth comes out, you'll regret ever defending her. Tolani felt the ground tilt. The venom in Sujene's eyes was more than rivalry, it was war. Later that week, Sujene set her trap. She invited Tolani to a private bar to talk things out. Against her better judgment, Tolani went, hoping to end the feud quietly. The moment she arrived, she knew it was a mistake. Sujene and her friends circled her, pressing drinks into her hands, snapping photos as she struggled to refuse. Relax, Sujene cooed. We just want to celebrate your rise to fame. But Tolani saw the phone cameras, the flashing lenses. They wanted to capture her drunk, humiliated, proof she was unworthy of Min-jun. She pushed the glass away. I'm not playing your game. Sujene sneered. Then let's see how long you last in his world. Before things could spiral, the bar door swung open. Min-jun strode in, eyes blazing. He grabbed Tolani's hand, pulling her out without a word. Outside, under the neon glow, he rounded on her. Why do you keep walking into traps? Tears stung her eyes. Because I'm trying to protect a lie that's falling apart. For once, Min-jun didn't have a clever retort. Instead, he squeezed her hand, his voice low. Then let me protect it with you. And though fear still churned inside her, Tolani realized she wasn't fighting alone anymore. The morning after Min-jun pulled her out of Sujene's trap, Tolani woke with swollen eyes. Sleep had been shallow, haunted by neon lights and Sujene's poisonous smile. She splashed water on her face, repeating the lie in the mirror like a mantra. You're Doyin. You have to be Doyin. But when she stepped onto campus, reality struck again. Jide Afolayan was waiting by the lecture hall doors. His expression was serious, no trace of his usual warmth. Doyin, he called, his tone clipped. We need to talk. Her heart sank. They found a quiet bench near the economics building. Autumn leaves swirled at their feet. Jide clasped his hands together, staring at her as though trying to solve a puzzle. You're not yourself, he said finally. At first I thought it was stress, but the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, it's different. Even your handwriting. I know Doyin, and you're not her. Tolani's breath caught. What are you saying? He leaned closer, voice low. Tell me the truth. Who are you? Panic gripped her chest. Her first instinct was denial. You're imagining things. I'm just tired, Jide. But Jide's gaze was steady, pained. I care about you. Enough to know when something's wrong. Please, don't lie to me. Tolani looked away, biting her lip. Behind her, laughter from other students drifted on the breeze. A world so normal, while hers teetered on collapse. She stood abruptly. I can't do this. Tolani! Jide blurted before he could stop himself. She froze. He had said her real name. Her eyes whipped back to his, wide with shock. What did you call me? Jide's expression hardened. So it's true. That evening, guilt weighed heavier than her textbooks. She went to the hospital to see her twin. Doyin still lay silent, machine softly beeping. Tolani sank into the chair beside her bed, gripping her sister's limp hand. I'm sorry, Doyin, she whispered. I thought I could handle it. But the lies keep piling up. And now Jide knows something's wrong. What if he exposes me? What if I destroy everything you worked for? Tears blurred her vision. For the first time since she had put on her sister's blazer, she wanted to run. But where? Back at the dorm, Bara sat smirking with her phone in hand. Did you know people are betting on when Min-jun will dump you? The girls think you're a charity case he's entertaining. Tolani clenched her jaw, ignoring her. But inside, every word dug deeper. As she lay in bed, her phone buzzed. A message from Min-jun. Meet me tomorrow. We need to talk about Sujene. She stared at the screen, torn between dread and longing. Because while Jide threatened to uncover her secret, Min-jun was pulling her deeper into his world, one where lies and love were becoming dangerously indistinguishable. The following afternoon, Tolani found herself standing at the steps of the student council building, nerves buzzing like static. Min-jun's text had been short, meet me. Don't be late. She pushed the doors open to find him already waiting in the council chamber, sharp in his blazer, posture regal as if carved from marble. You came, he said, his gaze steady. You didn't give me a choice, she muttered. His lips curved faintly. Good. Because Sujene is spreading rumors again. And this time, I intend to put an end to it. Tolani blinked. How? Before he could answer, the chamber doors swung open. Park Sujene strolled in, heels clicking against the polished floor. She carried herself like a queen entering her throne room. Behind her trailed two girls with phones ready to record. Min-jun, Sujene purred. I hear you wanted to see me. Her eyes flicked to Tolani, narrowing. And of course she's here. The imposter. Tolani stiffened. I'm not. Don't bother. Sujene cut her off. We all know she doesn't belong. Look at her. Does she look like someone who understands our world? The words stung sharper than knives. Tolani's fists clenched at her sides. But Min-jun rose smoothly, his voice carrying authority that silenced the room. Enough, Sujene. I've tolerated your antics because of our family's ties. But you've crossed the line. Spread one more rumor, and I'll make sure you regret it. Sujene's smile faltered. You threaten me? For her. For my girlfriend, Min-jun said firmly, placing a hand on Tolani's shoulder. Tolani's heart stumbled. He was acting. Surely. But the warmth of his hand, the steel in his voice, made it feel terrifyingly real. Sujene's eyes blazed. You'll regret choosing her. She spun on her heel and stormed out, her entourage scrambling after her. The chamber fell silent. Tolani finally exhaled, trembling. Why did you say that? Why defend me like that? Min-jun studied her, expression unreadable. Because it's the truth. Her chest tightened. She wanted to believe him, but how could she, when her whole presence in his life was built on lies? That evening, Tolani slipped away to the hospital. Sitting by Doyin's bed, she whispered, I think he means it, Doyin. But what if he finds out the truth? What if he realizes I'm not you? Her sister's fingers twitched faintly, as though urging her forward. But the weight of Jide's suspicion returned to her mind. He hadn't spoken to her since the bench conversation, and his silence felt louder than words. Back at the dorm, her phone buzzed. A message from Jide. Meet me tomorrow. I need answers. Tolani's stomach dropped. She was caught between two storms, Min-jun's dangerous defense and Jide's relentless suspicion. And she knew, the lies that bound her were tightening into chains. The campus fountain sparkled under the autumn sun, its spray catching the light in rainbow arcs. Students lounged around it, laughing, gossiping, oblivious. Tolani, however, sat rigid on a nearby bench, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles whitened. She had agreed to meet Jide here, and every passing second made her chest heavier. Jide arrived right on time, his backpack slung carelessly over one shoulder. But his usual warmth was gone. His gaze was sharp, troubled, carrying questions she wasn't ready to answer. Thanks for coming, he said, sitting beside her. Tolani forced a smile. Of course. What's this about? You know what it's about. Jide pulled a notebook from his bag and laid it across his knees. The pages were filled with neat handwriting, Doyin's handwriting. Then he flipped to another page, filled with Messier strokes, Tolani's. Do you see the difference? He asked softly. Tolani's throat went dry. I've known Doyin for years. She never forgets a formula, never mixes up dates. But lately, his eyes bored into her. You're not her, are you? She froze, her heart thudding so loud she thought he might hear it. Jide leaned closer, lowering his voice. Tell me the truth. Who are you? Her lips parted, but no words came. She had rehearsed explanations in her head 100 times. Lies, half-truths, even confessions, but under Jide's honest gaze, everything crumbled. She began. Tolani! His voice cracked as he spoke her real name. Her head snapped up, eyes wide. I remember you from Doyin's stories, he continued, almost a whisper. Her twin sister. She talked about you all the time. But I never expected you to be here, pretending to be her. Tears welled in Tolani's eyes. I didn't want to. But the scholarship, if Doyin missed it, all her work would be wasted. I thought I could hold her place until she woke. Jide closed his eyes, exhaling heavily. When he opened them again, they were full of hurt. Do you realize what you've done? You lied to the professors, to me, to Min-jun. Do you know how dangerous this is? Her shoulders slumped. I know. And I hate myself for it. But I couldn't let her lose everything. Silence stretched between them, broken only by the splash of the fountain. Finally, Jide spoke, his tone softer. You should have trusted me. I would have helped. Tolani blinked back tears. I didn't want to drag you into my mess. Jide looked away, his jaw tight. Too late. I'm already in it. He stood, slinging his backpack onto his shoulder. I won't expose you, not yet. But you need to figure out how long you can keep this up. Because lies don't stay hidden forever. Tolani watched him walk away, her chest aching. For the first time, she realized it wasn't just Sujene she had to fear. The truth itself was waiting, patient but relentless, ready to tear her world apart. The midterm finance competition had the whole campus buzzing. It wasn't just a test of knowledge, it was broadcast live on the university's streaming channel. For Min-jun, it was another chance to showcase his brilliance. For Tolani, it was a nightmare. She sat in the library surrounded by thick textbooks, her arm aching from late-night sewing orders. Numbers blurred before her eyes. She couldn't risk exposing herself as Tolani, not in front of cameras. Every problem reminded her she was impersonating someone else. Min-jun appeared, placing a steaming coffee on her desk. You look like death. She shot him a glare. That's your pep talk. He smirked, sliding into the seat across from her. Relax. I'll carry us. Just sit there and look smart. Tolani groaned. This isn't a joke. His smirk softened. I know. He nudged the coffee toward her. Drink. Trust me. For once, she obeyed. The day of the competition arrived. Students packed the auditorium, and thousands tuned in online. Tolani sat beside Min-jun on stage, her hands trembling. When her turn came to answer a question, panic struck. Numbers on the board swam in her vision. She opened her mouth, but nothing came. A murmur rippled through the audience. Cameras zoomed in. Then Min-jun leaned over, his voice a whisper only she could hear. Breathe. You've got this. His calm steadied her. She forced herself to think like Doyin would, recalling endless nights of overheard finance chatter. Piece by piece, the answer formed. She spoke it aloud. Silence. Then applause. Relief flooded her chest. She glanced at Min-jun. He was watching her, not the scoreboard, his eyes shining with something unreadable. By the end of the competition, their team won. The auditorium erupted in cheers. Students chanted Min-jun's name, but Tolani caught the faintest sound of hers too mixed in. That night, fireworks lit the Seoul sky to celebrate the festival coinciding with the competition. Min-jun dragged her up to the rooftop of the student council building, away from the crowds. The bursts of color painted his face in shifting hues. For once, the ever-composed heir looked almost boyish. You were incredible today, he said quietly. Tolani laughed, shaky. I almost fainted, and yet you didn't. He stepped closer, eyes locking onto hers. You keep surprising me. Her heart pounded. This is all pretend, remember? Is it? His voice was barely above a whisper. For a moment, neither moved. The crackle of fireworks filled the silence. Then, suddenly, he leaned down and kissed her. It wasn't calculated or staged. It was real, warm, tentative, dangerous. Tolani froze, then melted, her lips responding against her will. When he pulled back, his eyes searched hers. Tell me this is fake. Her lips parted, but no words came. Because for the first time, she wasn't sure if she could lie anymore. Tolani hardly slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt it again. Min-jun's lips on hers, the warmth of his hand at the small of her back, the way the world had vanished under the thunder of fireworks. It wasn't supposed to happen. Their contract was fake, their relationship a lie. And yet, the kiss had been real, too real. By morning, the campus was buzzing. Somehow, someone had snapped a photo of them on the rooftop, silhouetted against the fireworks. It wasn't clear, just two figures close together, but the rumors exploded anyway. Did you see? Min-jun kissed her. No way. He'd never risk his image like that. Trust me, I heard it from a council member. They're real. Tolani wanted to disappear. She avoided the cafeteria, dodged the library, and even skipped one lecture. But hiding only made things worse. By afternoon, Bora cornered her in the dorm. You think you're clever, Bora hissed, thrusting her phone into Tolani's face. The blurred photo glowed on the screen. But I'll find out who you really are. And when I do, Min-jun will regret ever looking at you. Tolani swallowed hard, fighting to keep her composure. Believe what you want. But inside, fear not at her. The walls of her deception were closing in. That evening, Min-jun found her sitting by the Han River, knees drawn to her chest. He dropped a canned coffee beside her and sat down, silent for a moment as the city lights rippled across the water. "You've been avoiding me," he said finally. Tolani stared at the ground. "You kissed me." He leaned back, smirking faintly. "And you kissed me back." Her cheeks flushed. "That was a mistake." "Was it?" His tone softened. "Because I don't regret it." Her heart thudded painfully. She wanted to scream the truth, that she wasn't Doyin, that everything between them was built on lies. But the words stuck in her throat. She couldn't risk Doyin's scholarship, couldn't risk destroying everything. "I can't do this, Min-jun," she whispered. "Being with you, it's dangerous." He studied her, his gaze intense but gentle. "Dangerous doesn't scare me. But losing you might." Her chest tightened. She had expected arrogance, but his vulnerability shook her. Meanwhile, across town, Sujene scrolled furiously through her phone. The rooftop photo had enraged her. She smashed her manicured nails against the table. "If he's serious about her, I'll destroy her," she muttered. Beside her, one of her friends hesitated. "But what if they're really—" "Don't be stupid," Sujene snapped. "She's lying about something. I can feel it. And when I find proof, Min-jun won't just dump her, he'll hate her." She smirked coldly, already plotting her next move. Back at the river, Tolani sipped the coffee, her hands trembling. Min-jun's presence steadied her, but guilt twisted like a knife. Because even as she let herself lean into him, she knew the truth was no longer a distant threat. It was coming closer, pulled by fate, jealousy, and her own beating heart. The semester festival painted the campus in bright banners and laughter. Booths lined the main square, food stalls, games, and live performances. It should have been a night of celebration. For Tolani, it felt like walking across thin ice. She had spent the morning with Min-jun, helping him set up the student council fundraiser booth. Their banter felt easier now, softer since the kiss. He teased her about her stitching skills. She teased him about his clumsy hammering. For a few fleeting hours, it almost felt real. But shadows lurked in the crowd. Sujene watched from a distance, her phone camera ready. She had spent days digging, pulling at threads. And now, she believed she finally had enough to unravel Tolani's mask. In the evening, Bora appeared at the dorm, a smug grin on her face. "Doyin, you're needed at the festival stage. They want you to model one of the fundraising shirts." Tolani blinked. "Me? Why?" Bora shrugged. Min-jun requested it himself. Suspicion prickled her skin, but she couldn't refuse without drawing attention. So she followed Bora through the bustling square, past stalls of tteokbokki and fried chicken, until they reached the stage. Blinding lights hit her as someone shoved her forward. Gasps rippled through the crowd. On the big screen behind her, photos began flashing. Tolani at her delivery job, Tolani entering Min-jun's car, Tolani laughing with Musa and Aisha. Each image painted her less like an elite finance student and more like an outsider. Then came the final blow. A hospital record, projected in bold letters. Patient, Doyin Okafor. Condition, coma. The crowd erupted. "She's not Doyin. She lied. Who is she really?" Tolani froze, her blood turning to ice. From the front row, Sujene stepped forward, her smile sharp as glass. "Ladies and gentlemen, behold, the imposter who deceived us all. Pretending to be her twin, lying to the university, manipulating Kang Min-jun. What a performance." Cameras flashed. Murmurs turned into roars. Tolani's knees buckled, shame crashing down like a tidal wave. Everything she had fought to protect, Doyin's scholarship, her dignity, even her fragile bond with Min-jun, was crumbling before her eyes. "Stop!" The voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Min-jun strode onto the stage, his expression thunderous. He placed himself between Tolani and the crowd, shielding her. "Enough!" Sujene faltered. "Min-jun, you can't possibly defend her." "I said enough." His voice boomed, silencing the square. He turned to the crowd. Yes, she lied. But not for herself. For her sister, who lay in a hospital bed. She carried a burden none of you could imagine. And she carried it alone. The murmurs shifted, confusion and pity mingling. Min-jun faced Tolani, his hand finding hers, warm and steady. You don't have to hide anymore. Her chest heaved, eyes burning with unshed tears. For the first time, the lie was gone. Only the truth remained, raw, exposed, terrifying. And yet, in Min-jun's grip, she felt something stronger than fear. She felt the possibility of forgiveness. The morning after the festival was heavy with whispers. Campus forums overflowed with heated debates. Some students praised Tolani's courage, while others demanded her expulsion. Screenshots of the hospital records spread like wildfire, paired with harsh captions. Fraud. Sympathy act. How dare she deceive us? Tolani sat on the dorm bed, staring blankly at her phone. Her hands trembled as she scrolled through endless comments. Bora, perched smugly at her desk, muttered, I told you lies never last. The word stung, but Tolani had no energy left to fight. Her secret was out. All she could do was wait for the axe to fall. At noon, she was summoned to the dean's office. The room felt colder than usual, walls lined with shelves of heavy books that smelled of judgment. The dean adjusted his glasses, his voice stern. Miss Okafor, or should I say Tolani, you deceived this institution, impersonating your sister to secure a scholarship spot. Such dishonesty undermines the integrity of this university. Tolani bowed her head. I accept whatever punishment you decide. But please, don't take the scholarship from Doyin. She worked for it, not me. I only stepped in because she couldn't. Silence filled the room. The dean sighed. Your actions cannot be ignored. But, he paused, glancing at Min-jun, who stood firmly at her side, uninvited but unmovable. The board will deliberate. Until then, you are suspended from finance courses. Her chest tightened. It wasn't expulsion, but it felt close. Outside the office, Tolani fought back tears. I ruined everything. No, Min-jun said firmly. You carried everything. Alone. That's what ruined you. His words struck something deep. She had worn Doyin's name like armor for so long. She had forgotten her own strength beneath it. But the fallout wasn't done. That evening, Jide found her at the hospital. He stood by Doyin's bedside, eyes red-rimmed from frustration. You should have told me, he said quietly. Tolani's voice broke. I wanted to, but I was scared. If anyone knew, Doyin's chance would vanish. Jide's jaw clenched. Do you think lying saved her? Now the whole campus knows, and she'll wake to this mess. Tolani wiped at her tears. I know, and I'll take the blame. All of it. For a long moment, Jide just stared at her. Then, softer, he said, You're braver than you think. But bravery without honesty will always collapse. He turned back to Doyin, brushing a hand over her still fingers. The quiet hum of machines filled the air. When Tolani left the hospital, Min-jun was waiting outside with his car. He leaned against the door, eyes shadowed. Where will you go now? He asked. She swallowed hard. Maybe back home. Maybe nowhere. I don't know if I can face this place again. Min-jun's gaze softened, but his voice was resolute. Then let me fight with you. If you run now, you'll lose everything. If you stay, maybe we can build something real. For the first time since her secret shattered, Tolani felt a flicker of hope, fragile but alive. The following week, the university auditorium was packed. The board of directors, faculty, and dozens of curious students gathered for the official decision regarding Tolani's fate. Cameras from the campus media club lined the aisles, ready to capture every moment. Tolani sat at the front, her palms damp, her heart drumming in her chest. She had never felt so exposed, so small. Yet Min-jun sat beside her, his presence steady as stone. The dean cleared his throat. After careful deliberation, the board has agreed. Miss Tolani Okafor will retain her enrollment in design. However, due to her deception, she will not be eligible for her sister's scholarship. Gasps echoed through the hall. But, the dean continued, considering her academic performance under extraordinary pressure, she will be allowed to apply for her own merit-based award. Relief flooded Tolani's chest. Tears pricked her eyes. She had lost Doyin's chance, but she had not lost herself. After the hearing, students gathered outside. Some still whispered, skeptical, but others approached with tentative smiles. "You were brave," one girl said quietly. "I'd have done the same for my sister," another admitted. For the first time, Tolani didn't feel completely like an outsider. That evening, she returned to the hospital with Min-jun. As they entered Doyin's room, Tolani stopped short. Her sister's fingers twitched, then her eyelids fluttered. "Doyin," Tolani whispered, rushing to her side. Slowly, painfully, Doyin's eyes opened. She blinked at the bright lights, then at her twin. A weak smile spread across her face. "Tola, you did it, didn't you? You kept it alive." Tolani choked back a sob, gripping her hand. "I almost lost everything, but you're awake now. That's all that matters." Min-jun stood silently nearby, watching the reunion with an unreadable expression. Days later, under a sky glittering with city lights, Tolani met him at their familiar spot by the Han River. The water shimmered, reflecting Seoul's endless glow. "I should thank you," she said softly, "for standing by me when you didn't have to." Min-jun's gaze was steady. "I didn't do it because I had to. I did it because I wanted to. Because somewhere between our lies, I found the truth." Her heart clenched. "And what truth is that?" He stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "That I don't want a contract or a performance. I want you. Just you, Tolani." Tears filled her eyes. All the fear, all the guilt, melted under the weight of his words. "I want you too," she whispered. His lips met hers, this time without fireworks or contracts, only the simple, undeniable warmth of love. Weeks later, the Okafor sisters stood side by side at the airport, both holding acceptance letters for exchange programs, Doyin's earned, Tolani's newly granted on her own merit. As their parents cheered over the phone, Min-jun appeared, carrying a bouquet of camellias. Tolani smiled, heart soaring. This wasn't the end of her story, it was the beginning. And for the first time, she faced the future not as a shadow of her sister, but as herself. Tolani Okafor, student, sister, fighter, and beloved of Kang Min-jun. Thank you so much for staying with us till the very end of the story. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear the lessons you learned and your thoughts on how we can continue improving to give you the very best. Here at Munlyt Stories, every tale is crafted with passion, care, and dedication. Our mission is simple: to entertain, inspire, and connect us all across cultures and hearts. So, keep the conversation alive in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. Till next time, we are Munlyt Stories, bringing you amazing tales that touch hearts and spark imaginations. Stay blessed. Stay inspired. See you in the next story.